Okay, so in this section of the video, what we're going to focus on is mixing of the true and the slump test. Obviously, once that's done, what we'll do is work on to placing the material. So a couple of points that I want to make in preparation for this section is the number of people involved in placing true in a very organised manner. You would never attempt to do this on your own. I'm obviously here today on my own simply because it's a demo and we're laying effectively around about 2.8 square metres of flooring. One of the primary important areas of rapid set cement is the water content. So we have a benchmark for the self-leveller of 4.1 litres of water. It needs to be clean and cold. So in particular, hot days, it certainly pays to have some ice in the bags within your mix water to keep it cold. The pour dynamics as well with rapid set true, you need to maintain a wet edge. So before you even begin to think about laying the floor down, have a look at your pour area, look at any small rooms coming off of the main pour, and decide whether or not that you can maintain wet edges. With one mixer, sometimes you need two. Even if it's a 60 or 70 square metre floor, you might need that just to be able to contain a wet edge and keep that going. Joints within the true. If there are no substrate joints or saw cuts, then you can carry that through into your overlay. You can have a seamless floor. However, joints within the substrate have to be honoured, otherwise you're going to have hairline cracking, etc. When we talk about wet edge and we talk about mixing, for me really the important part of any setup is firstly to be very organised. So you'll see we've got our bags laid out already. I've already got the water charged into the mixer itself, but on a side I would have my water station set up and decide an organised way that we're going to work backwards. We've got a good exit from the building, we're not going to trap ourselves in obviously. When you're pouring the true, you'll pour the first in a linear fashion, say from left to right of the floor, rake it out, roll it, and then the subsequent mix would pour into the last by about 6 to 12 inches. So that we're blending in that colour, and that's quite important with integrally coloured mixes or greys and that sort of thing, because you can sometimes see pour lines, etc. And the timing is also key, so it's desirable to have each subsequent mix getting into the last within around about 6 minutes. Okay, so all of this we can have electrically sent, so on a PDF we've got a site guide, and all of these bits and pieces you can have available to hand, but obviously you can also keep the videos for reference. So I've got my water in here. We're doing a 3-bag mix today, which should comfortably give us 10 ml over 2.8 square metres. So in here I've got 12.3 litres of cold water. I have my small paddle in there, my 3-bag mix, and the hippo's set on slow speed. The high speed comes in later on in the mixing. Once we've got all of our bags in and we're happy that everything's nice and wet, we'll switch off, stick it onto high speed, and then we'll carry on for between 3 and 5 minutes. Now, whatever you deem as appropriate for your mixing, you have to do with every subsequent mix. So if I do 4 minutes on high speed, do that with every mix. So on our first mix, what we're going to do is we'll get all of the material in there, get it mixed up, run it on high speed for 3 minutes, and then we'll perform a slump test. Now the reason we do this is that we want to make sure that we're going to get the working life out of the material. So we've got a working time and a flow time, 15 minutes and 30 minutes respectively. However, you don't want to be anywhere near it after 15 to 30 minutes. You want it in, down and done within about 8 minutes, to be fair. So I'll get mixing and then we'll cut back to a chat for the slump test. So as with any powdered material, good practice, even though we've got the vat and we've got a lid, definitely worth wearing a mask. Okay, so I mentioned earlier on in the videos with the sieve that it's not always necessary. If you just keep the crust away from the top edge of the mix, obviously turn the mixer off, but maybe every now and again within each mix, just use a bucket trowel or something just to scrape off any lumps around the edge. Okay, so we've done 4 minutes on high speed. One thing to consider when you are mixing this, don't be tempted to just tip a little bit of water in to wet it up. The longer you cut it, that shearing action will make it wetter and wetter. So what we'll do, we'll assume this is our first pour of the project, and what we'll take is just a scoop of material from the finished mix, like so. We're going to perform the slump test. So what we do is we set ourselves up with a nice flat surface, and then we run a timer. So from the moment we take the mix out, sorry, I'm trying to do 2 things at once here. We start our stopwatch. And what this is allowing for is any displacement of the particles, whether it's going to fall or suspend, and then we can perform our slump test. So we'll provide this, obviously, there's the slump ring, and that goes in, and we've got our material sitting in the cup. So on 30 seconds, we'll then pour it into the slump ring, which is there now. Try not to spill over, so we want to get it nicely up to the top. And then we let it sit in the slump ring for a further 30 seconds. So overall it is a 2-minute test. And then when that subsequent 30 seconds is up, we just lift up the slump ring, hold it, don't shake it out, let it fall down of its own volition. And we hold again for another 30 seconds, just to let all of that come out. What we're looking for on this slump with the true natural or the true grey is 130 millimetre slump across 2 axis points, plus or minus 5 millimeters. So that's 30 seconds. We take the slump ring away, and then we let this pancake just settle again for another 30 seconds. So on 2 minutes, we'll test it across 2 axis points. Now, always important to start at the benchmark water content, because you obviously can't take water away, but we can add it if we need to. So we're pretty much on 2 minutes right about now, and then we'll just put that in, so we're perfect. We're about 3 or 4 mil over the 130. It is a plus or minus 5, and pretty much same across there. So it's about 134, 135 slump, which is great. That's perfect, and what that's going to give us is our flow time and our working time. So obviously do away with that. We're happy to proceed, and we've got that water content dialed in, and then we'll just carry on. So what we'll do is we give the nod to the boys on the mixer. They'll just run that up just for another sort of 15 to 30 seconds.